G'day, g'day.
I'm supposed to go, hey, g'day first.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, g'day.
This is just absolutely insane.
We're at home, as you would have seen. Yeah, we're at home.
We're at home.
We're settling back in, cleaning up, empty the van, sort of washing all the gear, ready to put it all sort of back in again and ready to take the van up for its service. Mm-hmm. So that's all good. And we said that we'd do some wrap-ups, and look, it's been a big 12 months, hasn't it?
Has been, yeah.
And we'd always said that this is just a gap year.
Yep.
So the series will wrap up. But we did say that we'd wrap it up as neatly as we could. Thanks for all the questions. But first of all, thank you. There's been some lovely comments. Thank you for all of the comments and the questions and those sorts of things. And yeah, it is a bit sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bit sort of bittersweet. It's nice to be home, but
it's been a bit of an adjustment, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, and someone asked that question, and we'll cover that. I'm just going to keep saying thank you, thank you, thank you. By the way, in these wrap-ups, if you're thinking of doing a lap or it helps, that's great. Some people ask some questions and that might not be of your interest in those sorts of things. Just whiz through those sections because I think it's getting a little bit, potentially getting a little bit long, but we'll do the best that we can. And with your help, we've also sent a bit of money off to charity, and I'll cover that in a little bit of a blurb. But if you know of anybody who is thinking about doing a lap and you think that this wrap up and the series might help, don't forget to share because all of that money will still go to charity.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. See us jump in and out because we're filming this at slightly different stages. So sometimes you'll just have to put up with me, and then sometimes it'll be both of us. But you've asked us a number of questions. We'll try to cover those off as quickly as possible. We might do it. We might break it up into 2 episodes. And we'll post them pretty close together. And what are the key statistics? 11 months, 36,210 kilometres. We hit the most southern, the most western, the most northern, dead centre, highest, most eastern points of the continent. We free camped, hip camped, we national park camped, we van parked, we pub parked, we broke down, we got it fixed, we kept going. I mean, on this trip we saw stunning country and creatures. We went to towns, we went regional, we went remote, we went wet, we went dry, we went dusty, arid, waterfalls, oceans, you name it. On-road, off-road, rough road, bush track. And in the bargain, with your help, we raised over $3,600 to Legacy and RFDS, and that's still climbing, so we hope to get to $4,000. You know, it's just been terrific. It's been an absolute blast. Your support's been terrific. It's been a life-changing thing for Paula and I. And you know, really, the only thing we can say, and we'll say it a few times in the course of this update, if you get the chance to do it, and some of you have said that it's inspired you to do it, do it. You know, a number of you asked about the route and the roads we went to, and to list the number of camps and to list the camps that we stayed at. As you can imagine, that's a lot of work, and to be honest, it's only partially useful. So we'll give you an overview of it, but you know, our experience was things change. Your route has only got to vary by a couple of hours, or you want to deviate to one place, or there's somewhere else you want to stage to, and 2 or 3 different good camp options that can make the difference. So it doesn't matter necessarily the camps that we went to or the exact roads that we went to, but if it gives you a bit of an indication, and if you see me reading a little bit, sorry, because there's just so much detail and we were doing it for so long we actually forgot some of it. So of course, we kicked off, we decided to do the lap clockwise. Look, by all means, put in the comments and let us know if you think clockwise is better than anti-clockwise or vice versa. But we decided to go clockwise in part to meet the timeframes for some of the critical things we're doing, like the Spirit of Tasmania. So we stayed in Brisbane, we went down the east coast. You remember we cheated a little bit because we'd had some car issues. We actually had to fly down to Chuka and the Murray, but in the plan it was to go down the east coast, go down along the Murray at Chuka, do a few nights on the riverboat, which we did. Kept heading down to the coast, Great Ocean Road, a couple of camps down in that area, pub stay, headed across to Geelong, boarded the Spirit of Tasmania. Across to Tasmania, loved Tasmania. Tasmania is absolutely fantastic, but we actually think that you really need to give it at least 6 weeks. Some people say 2 months to 3 months to do it. So it might not actually be the ideal lap destination. It's the destination in its own right. We did in 3 weeks, wasn't long enough. But we went across, we went towards the Cradle Mountain area. Absolutely stunning, you know, wombats, you name it. Great free camp. And we then went anti-clockwise around the island. So Cradle Mountain, Queenstown, Derwent Bridge, Mount Field, Cockle Creek, and that's as far as you can take a van in Australia. I then pulled out the boots and walked out to where we could see, where I could see Southeast Cape, back up the east coast, Denali, Tasman Peninsula, Wineglass Bay, Bay of Fires. Then we headed back to the mainland, across to the Barossa Valley, and if it sounds like I'm puffing out, I'm just trying to get this through so that you get a bit of a feel for it. Across to the Barossa Valley, up the R.M. Williams Way, to the Flinders Ranges Way, Flinders Ranges, Wilpena Pound, great camp at Bratchina Gorge, Parachilna, back down the Outback Highway, past Port Augusta, and then onto the Air Highway. From there we headed west, past Ceduna, far too windy to stay, so we kept heading towards the Nullarbor, stayed at some bush camps. Scott's Bay, again it was pretty windy and blowy, but pretty much at that end of the Great Australian Bight. Across the Nullarbor Plain, Bunder Cliff, stunning, and we had stunning weather, and we saw the dolphins just up there with one of the best free camps. Esperance, foul weather. All right, everyone loves Esperance. They love Lucky Bay. We couldn't get into Lucky Bay. We stayed at the Overflow camp in Esperance. Made the best of it. Cleaned up, shopped, you know, did those sorts of things. But it was foul weather at Esperance. Continued around southwest WA. Didn't get to spend enough there, and that'll be one of the changes that we make, and we'll talk about that in one of the other questions. Albany, loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's one of those less talked about gems. Margaret River. Busselton. We then took a break in Perth. We caught up with some friends, and I had to get the van serviced. So we got the van serviced there. So lovely sort of long weekendish stay in Perth. Back in the van, up the Indian Ocean Drive, past Jurien Bay. Geraldton. Regrettably, we got to see a little bit too much of Geraldton, as you would have seen in the series. Then we headed back onto the highway up north, deviated across to Port Gregory, Pink Lake, around to Kalbarri, and then back to the main road. Multiple free camps, mostly road rest stops along the way, a couple of gravel pits. Up the National Highway to Shark Bay Road, Shark Bay, Denman. That's where we then did the day trip out to Steep Point. Back from Steep Point, Denman, back onto the highway, Quobba blowholes. So we decided that we were going to fit in Carragini, which wasn't originally in the plan. Headed towards Tom Price, broke down, went into limp mode. Check it out in the episode, not going to explain it in detail here. Back to Exmouth, they took the car away, we made the best of it. Did snorkeling and got ready at Exmouth, got the car back, which was great. Headed out to Osprey Camp on the Ningaloo coast, swum with whale sharks, swum with turtles, snorkeling at the oyster stacks. Absolutely brilliant period of time. Jump back in the van, ready to head up north towards Broome and towards the Gibb River Road. And again, check the episode. We got not far out of Exmouth, back into limp mode. All right, spent a night in the beside the road. We got recovered. This time they recovered the car and the van together. Back to Geraldton again. So 750 kilometre drive. We were in a loan car. and the guys, the Land Rover dealership, very kindly got both the car and the van back to Geraldton. Look, we had a miserable time at Geraldton. All the people made it great. The van park, pretty basic, but they were very accommodating. Wasn't the best site, but you know, but at least we had somewhere to stay. The guys at Land Rover at Geraldton, the Wyatts, they were fantastic as well. So pretty dismal set of circumstances, but they did everything they could to help. We were ill with a bad lurgy. Just under 2 weeks later, the car was fixed, back on the road. Massive drive then all the way, because we had to make up some time. So massive drive up past Exmouth, back up to Broome and Cygnet Bay. Cygnet Bay, we loved Cygnet Bay, absolutely loved Cygnet Bay. For us, given everything which had been happening and the massive drive we took, the several days that we spent at Cygnet Bay was just brilliant. And we did, while we were there, not only Cygnet Bay Pearl Farm, but we went out to Sunday Island and with Roseanne, you know, one of the traditional owners, to have a look at the story of Sunday Island. It wasn't the most popular episode. We loved it, right? We loved it, and congratulations to Roseanne and the team, because they've just picked up a really big national award for that experience. Losing my breath and losing my voice and around Broome, but we'd been there before, and it's a must-do if you do the lap, okay? It's particularly if you haven't been there before. So we head to Derby, free camps, Birdswood Downs, and start to get ready to do the Gibb River Road, which was one of the highlights for our trip. And that's when we get the warning that there's a severe wet weather system coming through, unseasonal wet, and flooding highly likely. We were right at the beginning of the Gibb River Road. We had to decide to stay or go, and we decided that we'd head in, do Tunnel Creek, and that we'd go to Mount Hart, having rung them to make sure that that was okay. And we headed into Mount Hart when the rains came, and we got stuck at Mount Hart, which was actually a great place to get stuck. We loved it, right? Sure, it was wet. Sure, it held things up. Sure, we couldn't go anywhere. But the team up at Mount Hart Station, or the Wilderness Lodge as it's known now, they were brilliant. We made the most of it. Cost us a fair bit of money. That's where we first got to meet the people who became our Gibb River Road buddies, which was Drummy, Deb, Ava. Again, thank you, and g'day, and we've said this before, we had an absolute ball. 10 days later, the Gibb Road, part of the Gibb Road opens. We get back on the Gibb River Road. We get ourselves to Mount Barnett and Manning Gorge, and again, we couldn't go any further because the rivers were still full. But did I say gorges? Absolutely fantastic. 10 days later again, the rivers come down to a fordable level, and the rest of the road opens up. So we head across the crossing at Mount Barnett, Mount Elizabeth, Mount Drysdale River Station, Ellen Bray, a couple of crossings, of course, Durack and the Pentecost, and then we head into El Questro. We jumped out of the van there and jumped into a room into Kununurra. Massive clean-up, did all the things that you do at Kununurra, packed up, parked the van, jumped in the car with the tent, and headed out to Purnululu, the Bungles. Yeah, we loved that. Now, a lot of people won't do that diversion, again, because of time or because they want to do other things. And it is a rough road in. Had a ball back to Kununurra. Then it was time to leave WA, so we headed across the Victoria Highway, Katherine. Then we headed up to Darwin. We didn't actually do any visiting at Darwin. I had to hang around and get the van serviced. You know, we're covering a lot of ground, and Paula headed back to Brisbane for a short period, for a week. Paula got back. I survived. Down to Berry Springs. Again, another one of those underrated places. So we enjoyed Berry Springs. Litchfield National Park, which we do rate. Mataranka. Bitter Springs is better than Mataranka Springs. Down to Daily Waters, as you probably saw. Bit of fun and all those sorts of things, and you sort of got to stop in and have a beer, but probably not our cup of tea. But then we headed across to the Savannah Way to hit a roo. That's the second roo that we'd hit. Borroloola to Hell's Gate. Now, brutal road when we were there, right? It was just a brutal road. Maybe the give over ore was worse because of some sharp rocks or something like that, but you could take your time and others. But no, it was pretty brutal. Borroloola to Hell's Gate, tough. And we don't suggest you actually do that part of the Savannah Way. There's some alternate routes. Unless you want to go and spend some time in East Arnhem Land, we wanted to head to Lawn Hill. And as it worked out, with all the rain across that year, Lawn Hill had been closed. So we probably shouldn't have done it. Anyway, we pressed on. Leichhardt Falls, one of the top free camps of our trip. We had a ball, lots of water coming through. Normanton, Corumba, you got to have a sundowner at the Sunset Bar at Corumba, but we didn't stay there that long. Mareeba, Cape York, another one of the icons. Now again, you need a good solid 2 to 3 weeks on Cape York to make it worth it. So like Tassie, like Kangaroo Island, like a couple of those, it's one of those ones that you might trade in and out. Okay, but we did it because we actually wanted to fit the lot in. Dealt with the dust, dealt with the corrugations. Some great waterfalls. So we loved Elliott Falls Campground. But on reflection, we're probably recommending to people that if you've got a large van, so certainly our size or better, you might leave the van back towards the Peninsula Development Road and just do a day trip. But we still love Elliott Falls, and we got in very safely, but it is deteriorating quite badly in there. All the way to the tip, so we ticked off one of our cardinal points. Back to Mareeba. Oops, almost forgot the Lions Den and Bloomfield track. Undara, we liked it. And of course, seeing all those microbats coming out of one of the lava tubes at dusk was one of those pretty highlights that we saw. Kennedy Highway diagonally across from north to western Queensland, in through Hughenden. Winton again, love Winton. Long Waterhole, overnight stay. Boulia. Then we hit the Plenty Highway. Right. The Plenty Highway, probably not as rough as it once was, but we needed to tick it off for ourselves. We wanted to tick it off. Into Tobermory Station. It ranks up there with one of our best stays just because it was stinking hot and it was just a little oasis and we just enjoyed that night. Pressed ahead across the Plenty Highway. Into the East McDonald Ranges, loved it, and Trafina Gorge, one of the top camps that we stayed at. Talk about flies though, so don't forget your fly net. Headed across to the Westmacs. Westmacs are brilliant, and we should spend more time there. Into Ormiston Gorge, fantastic swim, got to go for the swim. We weren't so fussed on the campground. You can continue from the end of the Westmacs down around to Hermansburg, back past Namatjira, and then off-road again into Palm Valley. Loved Palm Valley, bit of fun in the car, bit of four-wheel driving, not too hard, okay? See the cycads and the palm trees just out in the middle of this sort of Western Desert area. And big stinking hot heat waves coming through. And of course we got a flat tyre, which didn't help, so we had to change our van tyre. Campground was great. Heat's coming in though, and we decided that we'd leave there a day early and head across to Kings Canyon, to the van park at Kings Canyon, where we were able to plug in and turn the air conditioner on. Yeah, and we'll cover it, but just sometimes you just got to make sure that you're really comfortable. So Kings Canyon, did the rim walk. We'd been there before, second time around. It's one of the icons. We really suggest you go there, but it is a bit of a heart starter getting up that first hill. Laricha Road and Lassiter Highway to Yalara, Catajuta, and Uluru. Look, they're just must-dos, okay? And especially if you haven't, the second time that we'd been there, and it's just really hard compressing 11 months into 11 minutes. Then back to the Stewart Highway, down past the Colgra Roadhouse, out 120 odd kilometres on the Fink Road, 12 kilometres on a bush track off-road into the dead centre, the Lambert Centre of Australia. Best night sky ever. Right, back towards the Stewart Highway again. We got some slices in the tyre and a slow leak, so Colgra Roadhouse changed to a spare wheel on the car. Headed down a couple of free camps, Cooper Pedy. Right, ugly town. Okay, not our most favourite spot, but it is interesting, right? We camped on a hilltop, which gave us a view, but some blustery winds came through, a lot of dust. Look, at this stage, we'd spent a lot of time in dusty, arid, corrugated roads, and we decided that we'd review the plan, and originally we were going to go back up towards either the Strzelecki track or the Birdsville track and head back into Queensland that way. We decided to change that, and we headed south. We had to get the car and the van serviced again anyway. Stopped in through the Clare Valley, Adelaide, Fleurieu Peninsula. Well, during this time we decided in very short notice to see if we could get tickets to get across to Kangaroo Island. Kangaroo Island, absolutely brilliant. We've already covered it. Check it out in the episodes. 2 to 3 week destination in its own right, especially if you're going to carry the cost of taking the van across on the ferry. So probably not the ideal lap stop, but we loved it. Back across, quirky winery at McLaren Vale. Again, you can check out that episode. Into Adelaide, got the car and the van serviced. Jumped back in the car, and we headed to Narracourt Caves. Again, it's quirky, it's a bit of a jam, and you probably wouldn't deviate there, as we said in the episode. But if you're travelling between Melbourne and Adelaide, particularly if you're coming via Mount Gambier or something like that, it's well worth the stop. Great little campground. To the Grampians. Paula started to get sick at the Grampians, so things started to go a little bit pear-shaped there, so she was starting to feel off colour. Couple of free camps, kept heading east, and we got into Kelly country and stopped at Euroa. Caught up with our Gibb River Road friends, which was just absolutely fantastic. And as you can see, you know, you do make new friends when you're doing these trips. Then we got on the road. We're going to head to the high country at this stage and sort of get our way in through Craig's Hut and then back around to Dargo, and then potentially do some of the 4-wheel drive tracks. Got into a lovely campsite at Edi, and Paula's health deteriorated quickly and severely, and we ended up having to get her to emergency, and she ended up being admitted to hospital. So we've already covered it in both the emergency and one of the more recent episodes. So we abandoned the high country trip as we had planned it, as you would understand. We headed to Cancoban via Beechworth, camped up at Cancoban, and at Cancoban I jumped in the car, left Paula, who by this stage had recovered but was still needing rest, and she just enjoyed staying back at the van. I jumped in, headed up the windy road of the Alpine Way into Thredbo, and then walked, chairlifted, and then walked out to Mount Kosciuszko so we could tick off the highest point. Got stuck in Thredbo because the road got closed because of a nasty accident, so it's another one of those things which happen. We then sort of packed up, jumped on the road, headed back towards the Hume Highway. Jugiong, stopped at a mate's farm for a few nights, which was absolutely great. Thanks, mate. And then jumped back on the road and started to make our final legs home. So up the highway, Bulladilla Golf Club stay. We stayed at a couple of golf clubs actually, so keep your eye out. Trial Bay, absolutely lovely place. Cramped campground. But beautiful outlook, we enjoyed it. Pacific Highway, Byron Bay, Cape Byron, then home. But one of the first questions that people ask, they always actually ask, what was the absolute best?
Oh, how do you come up with an absolute best?
No, I know. Really hard to say what is the absolute best. But I suppose 3 of our faves. Tassie? Yep. Tassie's beautiful. But as you'll see, for many people, we'd suggest maybe you just do that as a destination in its own right.
Yep.
Because you can't fit in the amount of time that you need for Tassie in a total lap, particularly if it's a half lap, or 6 months or a year. Gibb River Road?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Doesn't disappoint.
No, absolutely brilliant. And what was the one that you sort of said that you wish we'd spent more time at?
Southwest WA.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it's some great places down there, wasn't there?
Yep,
yeah.
Albany we really liked.
Yeah.
We could have spent more time there, easy.
Yeah. And then a couple of little sort of gems. You always get the other question, don't you? Best campsites. And
yes.
Look, some people even ask us to list all of the campsites and those sorts of things. That's a bit too much. And I wish we could say top 5 or top 10, but we'll just quickly go through because there's just too many. And sometimes just a plain old gravel pit, depending on where you are and if you're tired and those sorts of things, and you're tucked up and a glass of wine, sometimes they're brilliant. I like Gloucester Showground.
Yeah, that was really good.
It was really the first one, like we'd stayed with some friends.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, it was just pretty outlook, pretty dawn.
It was beautiful.
Gloucester tops, we like Gloucester. So sometimes it's just the simple thing. Lake Gardner,
Yep.
down in Tassie, that was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. And platypus, and all those sorts of things. So that was absolutely great. And the other one in Tassie that we liked up at Bay of Fires was Generette Beach.
Yep. Yeah, we did. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
We had beautiful weather while we were there.
Oh, it's terrific. Well, like, you wouldn't have thought you were in Tasmania.
And it's actually a proper beach, not... And so some of the more popular ones are pebbles.
Yeah, and
So-
and it's funny because a lot of people like swim cart, right? Which is great, but we found swim cart just packed out.
Yep.
Got around, and we jagged probably the best site at Generette Beach. It
We
was
got a pretty good one.
bit squeezy getting the van in.
Yeah.
But the actual site was great. Flinders Ranges, Bratchina Gorge. I think Bratchina Gorge. So Bratchina Gorge.
Yes, definitely Bratchina Gorge. It was a good central point for everything in the Flinders Ranges, where we were going.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And I think it was the first time we felt remote.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Out there. Wasn't. So we headed across the Nullarbor Plain.
Yep. Did Bunder Cliffs.
Bunder Cliffs, just that was.
We had really good weather there too.
Yeah. Well, the night
One
before.
night,
The night before
was
wasn't.
really windy, extremely windy and raining.
Yeah, stormy.
rain.
We got a bit stormy, didn't it? Yeah. But then we ended up staying.
Yeah, we did.
It was great.
It was good.
Lots and lots and lots of other choices, but
Yep.
but you can only select so many. We got around to Exmouth and the Ningaloo coast.
Yes.
Look, you just can't go past Osprey, and
It was good.
It was good, and you could sort of go and do the snorkeling straight
Yep.
off the beach and all those sorts of things. Brilliant. We'd had all those issues, so we then headed up to Broome and
Cygnet Bay.
Cygnet Bay,
Yeah.
and look, it was just brilliant. I know we did something, but the actual campground itself,
It was good.
we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Everything Gibb River Road.
Yes, everything.
Yeah, there's I don't think we, even with all the weather and being stuck and everything like that, they're all good.
Yes.
You just
Those water holes don't disappoint.
No.
They're great.
yeah. Well, there was water pumping through them, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
there was.
But the campgrounds are absolutely fantastic. Across the top, lots of different options, lots of free camps, roadsides, and those sorts of things. But then we got into the Gulf country and Leichhardt Falls.
Yep, like Falls.
Yeah.
That was pumping water while we were there too.
Yeah, and I think
It was really good.
probably wouldn't be as good
No.
if you didn't have that water flowing over the waterfall. But for us, brilliant. We got a good site out on the rocks.
Yep.
Then we headed around to the Cape. Look, there are lots of standard options at the Cape, and they're all fine, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going for the experience. But we decided to sort of hook the van up and head up part of the old Telegraph track.
Oh yeah, to Elliot Falls.
Yeah, to Elliot Falls. Now, probably wouldn't recommend taking a large van up Elliot Falls. Like, we did it safely and we got through Scrubby Creek pretty easy. But the track is deteriorating. It is getting very narrow to get a dual axle rig. So camper vans, those sorts of things, fine. But vans our size and much above, even though the campsite was great, we had a ball, we loved it. Yeah, I think in all fairness, we'd have to say to people, many people would just prefer just to leave their van behind near the PDR and day trip it. But we liked it.
We loved it.
We liked it. Yeah. It's a bit of a strange one. Well, we went down to the Plenty,
Yeah.
stinking hot,
Yep.
and Tobermory Station.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That was an oasis.
I know, and the funny thing is, it sort of isn't it? But but they've got green grass in their little camp area. They've got good facilities, and it was stinking hot when we were there. I think 38, 39 degrees, and sometimes the thing that makes a difference is that there's just a bit of shade somewhere, a bit of green grass, nice pressure showers.
Yeah.
So we liked Tobermory.
We did.
Tobermory Station on the Plenty Highway. Into the centre, East McDonnell Ranges, and Trafina Gorge.
Yes, that was
It
beautiful.
was beautiful, and there's lots
Few
of
flies there.
well, those flies, and I talk about that when I'm describing the lap. Don't forget to take
Your
your
hairnet.
your fly net.
Fly net,
Yeah,
yeah.
that looks silly, but
No, it's
Yeah.
Saves you a lot of...
Great Australian Wave, yeah.
I know you would say Lambert Centre.
I'd say Lambert Centre. Why?
Because of the stars.
I know. It wasn't necessarily the best campsite that we're at, was it?
No.
You know, and it was a little bit tougher to get to, but best night sky ever. Yeah, best night sky ever. And I think that's the difference. You know, two lots of people can go to the same campsite, and some can really love it and some not so much, because it all just depends on the experience. But anyway, there's our top, I think, 12. Oh, okay. So another common question: what would we do differently? And this one's so hard because you do what you got to do. You know, you take the choices based on the circumstances of the time. But given that you like Southwest WA, or so did I, we'd probably try to spend more time down there. You know, and we're talking about like a couple of weeks more time in that whole region. Yeah, we'd had some bad weather, but even so, the day we left Esperance, the sun came out and it was beautiful. So more time Southwest WA would probably be one of the things that we would do different. I think if we hadn't already booked the Spirit of Tasmania tickets,
we probably should have left.
Yeah, we probably should have left it off and done it as a completely separate
thing,
separate trip. Don't necessarily try to fit everything in. We'd made a deliberate choice that we wanted to tick off, you know, all of the key spots. But you know, I think on reflection, we loved it. But same with KI and Kangaroo Island.
Kangaroo Island.
Again, we had a ball.
We did. We loved it.
We loved it. I reckon we should have stayed longer, but we didn't. We didn't even have that time anyway. So again, it's another one of those places, probably because it's the ferry type location. Which might be a bit different. For example, if you're not a Queenslander and you want to fit Fraser Island in. Fraser Island, yes, you've got to get the ferry and all those sorts of things, but Fraser Island, you've probably got to leave the van, as we did on the mainland for the shakeout, and go across. But you probably do want to do Fraser Island on a lap, particularly if you're not from Queensland and coming that around. So Kangaroo Island, we drop off. Look, I think there's one thing that we definitely wouldn't do for sure, and that's that leg from Borroloola to Hell's Gate. It was pretty tough. Yeah, bit of thumping around. We had one really nice free camp and overnight peaceful all by ourselves and all that sort of stuff. But the road was rough. So unless you're going to spend some time in East Arnhem Land, the roads up there, and yes, it's seasonal and all those sorts of things, but you know, we were going to do it because we were going to go to Lawn Hill, but Lawn Hill was closed, so we should have dropped that one out. There's other ways across. Sure, they're a little bit roundabout, but there's some sealed roads around and those sorts of things. We definitely take less gear.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'd already started. We thinned out a couple of times during the trip.
We did.
So most people accumulate stuff. We actually spent some time getting rid of stuff when we're going, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we do the van wrap up. We would have liked to have got to Karajini.
Yes, we would have loved to have done Karajini.
But
we can't if you don't have a car.
Yeah, I know. So we broke down, and look, that's just one of those things which happened. It was a bit of a squeeze to get it in anyway, and in the end, because of the delay, we just had to make the choice to just not do it. I would have liked to have done Birdsville and the Strzelecki track, but we were just too late in the season. We'd done a lot of arid stuff. So again, if we hadn't had that delay, maybe if we hadn't done Tassie, we would have had that time. We would have been just fractionally earlier in the season.
It is what it is.
It is. Yeah. So there's a next time in all that, but don't worry, it's not straight away. And I think the final thing we basically should point out that if you're not trying to squeeze all of them in, and some people don't want to do the Cape in their lap, and that's fine, right? Some people don't want to do Tasmania in their lap. Try to spend a little bit more rest time in between, because it can actually get fatiguing, can't it? And you want to be able to enjoy it, and you want to have some downtime. So sometimes you just want to spend a few days not doing too much at some of the nicer locations or some nicer regions, or sit out school holidays. Okay, so that's what we do different. Yeah, I've got my cup of coffee. Where's yours?
Down here.
Okay. The other question that people ask us is questions about the car and van for updates. How do they go? Would we change them and all those sorts of things? We will do an update. We'll do it separate, right? Because both the car and the van are booked in for major services. Look, and there's some good news on both fronts. I mean, yes, you have some breakages and those sorts of things, and there's been some stuff with the car, but looks like we've got some light at the end of the tunnel there. So let's get all that underway, and we'll talk about it separately. And we're actually taking the van up for its major service
shortly.
Yeah. So I think this is a cracking question. Have we settled back in? What do you reckon?
No.
And you know, look, we haven't. It's going to be a transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's changed our lives.
Yes. Definitely.
It's changed our outlook. Yeah. So we'll just see what the next steps are. But no, we haven't settled back in.
No.
Yeah. And you know, who knows? At some stage, you might run into us, as we're out doing a week-long trip or a weekend trip, or you know, who knows what the future brings. But definitely not. We haven't settled back in yet, and I don't think we'll go back to life exactly the way we were doing it before.
No.
Anyway.
Definitely not.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It said, would we do more travel? Look, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. And we've been lucky, haven't we?
We've travelled quite a lot before
Quite
this.
a lot, yeah. And I'll just show you a couple, just as some show-off things and those sorts of things. So this trip was pretty special because we'd done some really big things, and we had done some travel around Australia in different forms.
Yes.
You know, but this one we just wanted to just completely dedicate to seeing some of those Australian trips. But we do like our travel, so we'll do more. Yep. We just don't know where yet.
No.
Yeah, we've got so many choices. That's the thing, that bucket list just gets bigger and bigger, doesn't it? Someone said they'd like to know how much we've raised for charity. At the moment, it's about 3,600, and that includes there were some benefactors for Legacy who were matching some dollars, some multiples, and so we got our month. That month we put in on that day, so that it bumped it
doubled.
Up.
Yeah.
So that's the 3,600. We are hoping there's more coming in. We're hoping to get to 4,000. So, I really can't say like, subscribe. I know that the thing's wrapping up, but share, because if a few more people, and there's lots and lots more people over the last month who've discovered the channel. If a few people come in and they watch the videos, we'll try and improve a couple if we get a chance, and we'll put these in. Then we can send some more money off to charity. Yeah. Look, it's not a lot of money, because we never ever did with the channel what you need to do if you want to be an influencer or a content creator. There's lots of things you've got to do to boost. You've got to work across platforms and channels, and as you know, no sponsorship. We didn't want to sell, and we don't have Patreons. We didn't want to do any of that.
No.
Right. And you only make so much money out of ad revenue, and particularly early when you're building up the subscriber base, but 100% of it goes to charity. So as we say, we're heading towards the 4,000 mark, and thank you so much to everybody.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you weren't watching it and putting up with the ads, you've got to put up with the ads, people, because that's actually how it gets paid. Then we can send some money off to Legacy and RFDS. And on that note, we're not doing charity fundraisers, but if you're thinking about doing a lap, or if you're on a lap or you're going to do a lap, flick some money over to RFDS or something like that, because just who knows, one day
you might need them.
You might need them. Somebody asked us about the vids, the vlogs of the channel. I'm really not going to go into it. I covered a little bit about the making of it. You can go back and have a look at that, but we never really set out to be YouTubers.
No.
No, we're definitely not.
No, what you see is what you get, unfortunately.
Quite bad. We don't rehearse. Sometimes the sound doesn't work, and we don't do retakes.
Or we miss something and we go, oh well, never mind.
Oh well, next time. Okay. So this one has to. This series has to come to a wrap up. If we do something else in the future, we might do another series. Yes. But that sort of means starting all over again. But yeah, that's life. Some other people a number of people said that it's inspired them to do similar, which is great.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Look, I've got to say that life's too short. Yep. Right. Yes, it is costly. Yes. Right. We didn't have much of a budget on this one. We started doing that, and then we decided no. But we spent what we needed to spend to enjoy ourselves, and not everybody can afford to do that. No. It is expensive, right? So it's not cheap to do it, but it's a wonderful thing. because there's so much to see. By all means, have a look at what we've done, but do it your own way. Right. There are some of the things that we like doing, like in the winery areas, or a couple of other things that, you know, we did quite a few helicopter rides and those sorts of things. Not everyone's going to want to afford that or want to do that. We liked it. But above all, mix it up, right? You can't be doing everything on the hard roads and all those sorts of things. So give yourself some luxuries in between and some rests. But anyway, do it your own way. But I've got to say, do it, and do it while you're young enough, if you can. To, you know, to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, I know there's lots of young people out there with their kids and all those sorts of things, and that's great. You know, all power to them if they do it. But there's heaps and heaps of people who are like us that have, you know, have worked for many years. I mean, lots of people, you know, they work pretty hard, and I think sometimes just taking a gap year, if you've saved a bit of money, do it.
Do it.
Yeah. So, and if you can't afford a full lap, do a half lap or a quarter lap, you know, but do it. And our gib buddies, I mean, they spent 3 months on the road, and they cram-packed stuff in. they did so much in that. Somebody asked, do we get overseas viewers, and they asked to share some stats. I'll have a look at the stats, but it's a few percent. It's overwhelmingly an Australian audience, as you'd expect, because, you know, it would be a big undertaking for people to come from overseas, jump in a car, although some do. Right,
some do. So we met some.
Oh yeah, a couple of Geordies who come across, and they've probably seen more of the country than some Australians have. You know, we've got people from the Isle of Man, we've got people from Scotland, we've got people from South Africa. The South Africans, I mean, they've got some pretty rough stuff to do and those sorts of things. So it's the country that probably, you know, if anything, you know, probably has some harsher things than we've got to do. But I think for everybody else, they're just the scale of it, and the diversity, and things that are different to the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. Yeah, they enjoy it. But it's not a lot. You know, you probably, on any given episode, you're probably talking about 4, 5, 6%, overwhelmingly Australian. This one was a strange question. So someone sort of said, you know, it was part of the group of where did you lie, you know, where would you go again, all that sort of stuff. And they said, is there anywhere where you'd ever move to one of those places?
No.
No. Look, you never say never, do you?
No,
like in life.
Never say never.
But we love where we live, you know, in Brisbane, and we might even do a bit of a ride around to a couple of our favourite spots, because we sort of forgot that when you're doing a lap, this is our home, so we don't even think about going to some of these places too much. But there are a few.
There are a few? You know, yeah, there are quite a few.
From Tiwar Beach, you know, and Fraser Island, all the way down to the Gold Coast and the hinterland, there's quite a few different places. And if you drop into Brizzy, you can actually spend a couple of nice days going to some of the, you know, some of the parks and those sorts of things. But no, we love where we live. So if we've missed any questions, sorry. We'll review them, and some of them are related to the van and the car anyway. If there's anything we've forgotten, we'll include it in that. And now I've sort of got the job of trying to edit that down into something sensible, which...
You're up for the task.
we'll do that. So we'll wrap up. Thank you again. Yes. We hope that that's answered the questions. Most of the questions get answered if you look at the series, I think.
Yes.
You know, good, bad and otherwise. And thanks to those people who've said that they've already started looking at some of the old vids again. I get a bit embarrassed about that. I mean, some of them have got to be improved. We did get better at it as we went along.
Yes, we did, particularly with the background noise.
Well, we bought... I should actually sort of show people, and I won't. We as you know, we used to sort of... We bought this, and that improved our sound considerably, right? At least to the extent that we could manage the sound in the editing suite. But then
it kept getting in the way.
Like Dickie Knee, didn't it? Kept getting in the way. So you can see that I've now actually got just a little bracket right on it that sets it back a little bit, which basically means that you can use it even on wide angle now. Yeah. And it can't get in the way. So, and we're recording on the main camera, and I'm sitting here with a coffee. I'm such a bad influencer. I'm so unprofessional. Anyway, so thank you. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for the lovely words. We hope that's answered the questions. Yep. We're getting there. We're only a couple of episodes finally away from packing up the big gap year. And then who knows? Love yous dearly. Love yous like brothers and sisters, but it's time to go. Cheers. I'm pushing me out. Okay, so good. Stop leaning in. Just get it. Yeah.
I'm touching you.
It's not one of those sorts of movies, Paula. Again, thanks for joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, 100% of our YouTube advertising revenue goes to charity.